It's widely known that the first vice president of the United States, John Adams, hated the job. But the only thing that kept him from resigning from the job was the belief that he thought the vice presidency was the natural path to the presidency. So, are you right, John Adams? Is the vice presidency the best route to the presidency? And if not, then what is? Well, it looked like John Adams was actually going to be correct in his assessment, because he later became the president right after he was vice president. And after he lost the election in 1800, the incoming president was awkwardly his vice president, Thomas Jefferson, in 1800. But it didn't always look like that. In fact, most of the early presidents actually served as Secretary of State. Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, James Monroe, John Quincy Adams, and Martin Van Buren. But after that, only one more Secretary of State served as president, James Buchanan. And since James Buchanan was the last Secretary of State to be elected president, only 13% of presidents have served as Secretary of State. Something that you might not have expected was actually really high up. 17% of presidents served as a foreign ambassador, most famously John Adams and George H.W. Bush, but there were, among others, to 17% of presidents. Well, I can definitely tell you one thing: it's not Secretary of War. Only James Monroe and William Howard Taft served that post. Ulysses Grant was the acting Secretary of War, and if you count that, that means only 6% of presidents have served as the Secretary of War. And in order of the most amount of presidents that had at least two, in last place would be the Virginian House of Burgesses, with only 4% of presidents having served in the pre-American Congress. Then it is the Secretary of War position with only 6%, and then followed by the Secretary of State with 13%. The next two places on the list are foreign ambassadors with 17% and the Senate with 35%. 40% of presidents served in the House of Representatives, and 42 served as vice president, like the John Adams thought it would be. Interestingly, that's 38% of all vice presidents. Then there's state legislature with 44% of presidents having served as either a state congressman or a state senator. And in second place is what I thought would be number one, the governorship, with only 48%. And in number one spot, by a long shot, it's military experience, with 66% of presidents having experience in the United States Army. And that is truly a huge margin. If you just take all the presidents who served as in the House and in the Senate and just called it Congress, then it would be easily still military, because that only amounts to 60% of presidents. Well, now you know. If you ever want to become president, serve in the military.